All right, welcome to The Explainer. You know, this weekend, something massive is happening. We're talking over 100 million people all tuning in for one single event. So today, we're going to unpack the wild story of how the Super Bowl went from just a football game to this massive American spectacle.
And if you want to get a sense of just how big this is, look at this number. I mean, seriously, 123.7 million people. That's how many folks in the U.S. tuned in last year. It was the single most watched broadcast in the history of American TV. That's just incredible.
So, you gotta ask, right? How on earth did a football game become the biggest show on the planet? It's way more than a game now. It's a cultural institution. To really get why this weekend is such a huge deal, well, we gotta go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay, so here's the thing. The Super Bowl wasn't born out of some grand master plan. Nope. It was actually the unexpected result of a really bitter business war between two competing football leagues. So back in the 60s, you had these two rival leagues. On one side, you've got the NFL, the old guard, the establishment, and on the other, this flashy upstart, the AFL. And they were just at each other's throats. They were stealing players, fighting for fans. It was a total war. And you know what? The only way to stop the bleeding was to merge. And part of that deal was that their two champions would play each other in one final winner-take-all championship game.
And the name, you're going to love this, it didn't come from some big fancy marketing meeting. It came from this quote right here. The AFL's founder, Lamar Hunt, just kind of threw it out there as a joke. He called it the Super Bowl because his kids were playing with this popular toy called a Super Ball. He literally said it can be improved upon. He didn't even think the name would stick.
Yeah, for the first couple of years, it was officially called the AFL-NFL World Championship Game, which, let's be honest, is a total mouthful. But the press and the fans, they loved Hunt's nickname, the Super Bowl. So they just kept using it, and by the third game, boom, it was official. And just like that, an American institution was born.
All right, so with the backstory set, let's get to the heart of it all, the game itself. This is where you get the incredible stories of dominant dynasties and, my favorite, the legendary underdogs.
And this is what it's all about. This is what every single team is fighting for, the Vince Lombardi Trophy. It's named after the legendary coach of the Green Bay Packers, the guy whose team just dominated and won the first two Super Bowls.
And over the years, a few teams have just completely owned the Super Bowl. You know, you had the Steelers in the 70s, the 49ers in the 80s, the Cowboys in the 90s, and then, of course, the Patriots dynasty that just seemed to last forever. Right now, the Patriots and Steelers are tied at the top with 6 wins each.
But you know, back at the very beginning, a lot of people thought this whole thing was a joke. They really doubted if the new AFL could even hang with the NFL. I mean, after the NFL's Packers crushed them in the first 2 games, people were basically calling it a mismatch.
And then, Super Bowl III happened. And this is the moment right here where everything changed. You had the Baltimore Colts from the NFL, who were seen as basically unbeatable. And then you had the New York Jets from the AFL, this massive underdog. Their quarterback, Joe Namath, got famous for guaranteeing they would win, and guess what? They did. They pulled off one of the biggest upsets in the history of sports. That one game proved the AFL was for real, and it turned the Super Bowl into an event where you knew absolutely anything could happen.
So once the game itself became this can't-miss drama, the Super Bowl started to become something even bigger. It wasn't just about football anymore. It became a show. Just think about the halftime show for a second. A normal game, you get, a 12-minute break? The Super Bowl has a 30-minute halftime. At first, that extra time was just filled with marching bands, but it created this perfect window for a massive, full-blown concert production.
And with that huge audience, the commercials changed forever too. The ad breaks basically became a show within the show. Today, if you want to run a single 30-second ad, it'll cost you a mind-blowing $7 million.
And really, you can track the Super Bowl's explosion in popularity just by looking at how the halftime show evolved. It went from, college marching bands to the absolute turning point, Michael Jackson in 1993. His performance actually got more viewers than the game itself. It was a total game changer, and it's what turned halftime into the global music spectacle it is today.
So, you take all that stuff, the history, the on-field drama, the crazy commercials, the halftime show, and you mash it all together. What do you get? Well, it's not just a game anymore. It's basically an unofficial national holiday. And if you need any more proof of how big this day is culturally, listen to this. The only day of the entire year that Americans eat more food is Thanksgiving.
That's it. Super Bowl Sunday is really all about getting together with people, sharing a ton of food, and just having this huge shared experience.
Yeah, it's just so woven into the culture now, right? You've got the Super Bowl parties, everyone arguing about which commercial was the best, the fact that they use those famous Roman numerals to make each game feel historic, even the pre-game presidential interview. All these little traditions make it this massive, shared national event.
So think about it. It started as a business deal to end a bitter rivalry, and now it's this huge cultural institution. So as you're watching this weekend, whether you're there for the game, the ads, or the halftime show, just remember, you're not just watching a game. You're watching the next piece of American history unfold. And the only question left is, what moment from this Sunday are we all going to be talking about for years to come?